Hi everyone, this is Fulton. This is my music room for Tuesday, March 2nd, 2021. As always, a land acknowledgement for the native people's lands that I thrive and survive off of. Anyhow, first, Beck, The Information. This album's kind of a nostalgia case for me. It was kind of at a strange time in my life. But anyways, it's very experimental, but also indie and accessible. It's kind of like a Beatles album. There's lots of string arrangements, lots of experimentation with fun noises and layering and spoken word parts, especially towards the latter half of the album that really trip you up if you're not expecting it. And I think this album really lays the foundation for what is to become indie music. Not necessarily like exactly what it is, it's also broken, but just kind of like the templates that we see today with like using both electronic and acoustic instrumentation. Overall, it's a very, very solid album. You can't go wrong with Beck. He's put out a lot of interesting works, and I think he's one of the best popular alternative indie artists ever. Up next, Grateful Dead, 5877. I've shown this before. One of the greatest Grateful Dead shows ever. It's a blistering set, in my opinion. You have some my favorites, Jack Straw, They Love Each Other, Loser. But then you get the Dancing in the Street, Scarlet Begonias, Into Fire, Mountain, and then all of set to St. Stephen into Not Fade Away, back into St. Stephen into Morning Dew. This isn't the Dead at their most experimental. This isn't the Dead at their most straight ahead, but it's in that perfect balance, which is really hard to find, in my opinion. When listening to Dead shows, they're way too out there. They're not really on it, but they're on it. This album showcases all of that. As Phil Lesh said in an interview from a few years back, Working Man's Dead was bringing like country and folk songs written by Jerry Garcia and Robert Hunter together, and then before that it was more psychedelic out there jams. Phil Lesh then continued to say, all of our subsequent albums after Working Man's Dead and American Beauty had that balance of out there improvisation and structured, classic country song. And this highlights that. It's a perfect example of what Phil Lesh explained in that interview. And for you who don't know who Phil Lesh is, he is the basis of the Grateful Dead. But yeah, it's an essential album for any Deadhead. I think if you want to get into the Grateful Dead, even their live repertoire, this is the place to begin. It shows them at their absolute best, in my opinion. Up next, King Crimson's Discipline, 1981. A whole new Crim lineup from their 70s lineup. Bill Bruford's the same, but Bruford is playing like electronic drums at times. This album is another very personal album to me. This is my father's copy. It is my father's copy. He's still alive. Yeah, it's new wavy, it's really weird rhythms. Lots of odd time signatures, but they groove really well and they layer and interlock with one another. Specifically with Adrian Belews guitar, Robert Fripp's guitar, and Tony Levin playing the Chapman stick, which is kind of a double guitar bass thing. It's a stick, and it's played through tapping. There's a whole reverb video on Tony Levin explaining the Chapman stick, and he's only an acolyte that doesn't know much, even. And I feel like that album also personifies another King Crimson trope, which is balancing chaos and peace. These two items are really important, I'd say, that King Crimson. It's prevalent in their first album, and it continues to be explored in subsequent ones, even live today. If you listen to Meltdown or Radical Action to Unseat the Monkey, it's always a balance of chaos and peace. Up next, I've shown this before, Idles, Ultramono. I'm still trying to, place it and really get a feel for it. It's not joy as an act of resistance, it's not brutalism, and at times it doesn't feel like a combination of them. It feels like an entirely different band, with like similar players, I would say. The lyrics are always really relevant, existentially and personally. Existentially as in the world and issues going on, but personally, a hymn was hitting pretty hard the other day. I just want to be loved, everybody does. Stuff that's really simple but makes you think about it. And I think that's part of the love of Idols, is that they kind of have that British punk feel of, how would I put it? They are translating these simple things and simple lyrics to bigger things. It's something everyone can understand. It's like speaking to your audience and making sure they understand, But yeah, I still just need to listen to it more and more. It's just a heavy album, lots of different sounds compared to the other two. And I think it's just gonna be time. I got it because I'm like, oh, Idol's new album, that's it. I didn't give it a listen beforehand or anything, which is something I'm trying to do more now. It's like, I see an album and it looks interesting, I'm gonna buy it. And then finally, I've shown this one too. The Bill Evans Trio, Moonbeams. After Scott LaFaro's death, Chuck Israels was recruited to play bass. Scott LaFaro died in a car accident. Pretty tragic. I've written an article on Bill Evans about the vibe he cultivates. I'll drop the link in the description of this video. It's on massmedia.plu.edu. But that gives you some more insight into what this trio without Israels was all about, in my opinion. Excuse me. And I'd have to classify this. I'd have to say it's jazz that makes you sappy. And I really think this album encapsulates this, especially if you know the background of Chuck Israels passing away. It's navigating loss and it's grief and nostalgia at the same time. So I'll link the article that I wrote on the Bill Evans Trio in this video. Please tell me what you're listening to this week. I'm extremely interested. I keep on saving new albums and not listening to them. But yeah, I hope everyone has a good week. I know school is ramping up again for us PLU Lutes, so it'll be nice to chill out to some jams this weekend, hopefully. Anyways, this has been Fulton with Laser, Lute Air Student Radio. This is my music room for Tuesday, March 2nd, 2021.